Just give me a minute. Yep. So welcome everyone for the last webinar that we are having of the March series. We have with us Pallav Gupta, who is a pet nutritionist. He's an internationally certified pet nutritionist. Please bombard him with a lot of questions because he's a little nervous. So I wish to trouble him today. And we of course have with us Vinda, who has been my co-host for the entire March series and a brilliant face to be there to lighten up all of us. I'll give it up to Vinda to introduce CCC and our fundraisers that has been happening, and then, of course, Pallav's introduction.
Okay, so we are currently hosting all throughout March till the 30th a fundraiser in collaboration with PopX. So I am the founder of Curious Cat Company, the cat store for cat people. And we are hosting a fundraiser, proceeds from which will go towards CUPA, which is a 32-year-old animal welfare NGO based out of Bangalore. They run one of India's largest community cat sterilization programs. They are currently sterilizing cats for as less as 500 rupees. Slots are open for every weekend as and when available. So anyone in Bangalore who wants to get their community cat sterilized, please contact CUPA. And part of the fundraiser that we're hosting, I'm going to paste the link in the chat for all of you guys. Those proceeds will help cats get sterilized. So thank you, Pallav, for being here. I'm going to dive right into the questions because I think feline cat nutrition is a very big gaping hole. You being a certified nutritionist and a feline nutritionist expert at that, this is a very rare occasion. Not many people know about cats. A lot of people know about what to feed dogs. Dogs are easier to sort of, make happy. Cats, on the other hand, are very picky. Their nutrition needs are very, very specific. If those nutrition needs are not met, they can lead to a lot of long-term health complications. There is a lot of misunderstanding about commercial cat food versus homemade cat food, what kind of meats, etc. Guys, can I please request all of you to mute your audios? Yeah, thank you. So the first question that I'm going to ask you is, and that's what you put in your video, what is an obligate carnivore and what does that mean for cats?
So obligate carnivores are animal species that are primarily consume animal meat or animal tissue as their main source of nutrition. So for cats are obligate carnivores, so they get most, if not all, the nutrients from animal meats.
Right. So they compulsorily have to have animal meat in their diet is what I think that clearly answers the question that a cat cannot be vegetarian. So going to the next question that we have, which is a bundle of questions actually. Does a raw diet work for cats or should there be cooked elements in it? How does one make sure you're not feeding your pet contaminated raw food if we are giving the raw food? And what quantities to start with if you're just starting on? Of course, you can break it down to a kitten and a cat, I think.
So it is, you can feed your your cat a raw diet, but there is an issue of E. coli or salmonella or any other kind of issues or bacteria that do form in raw meat.
Okay.
So if you have access to meat that does not contain any kind of bacteria or is not exposed to the elements or are that are healthy for the cat, then definitely go for a raw food diet. But if you are not, especially in cities, especially like a place where I stay in Bangalore or many other cities, it's difficult for us to have access to fresh meat.
Right.
And over a certain period of time, even in around half an hour, meat can have bacteria formed in it.
Right.
One of the most common issues that raw feeders get is that the cats develop either E. coli or salmonella, or just a stomach upset from the meat being out in the elements. So that's why I always advise pet parents that if you're going to provide raw food for your cats, always make sure that you have checked and you know that where you're getting your meat does not have any kind of health issues.
Right.
Now, when it comes to like, how do we check if there's no contaminants? There is honestly no way for us, unless we lab test the meat, to know that there are contaminants in the food. The easiest way to remove contaminants is to cook the food.
Okay.
This is actually a question that even my father asked a few weeks back. Someone who's not interested in the whole aspect of nutrition. He himself asked me a few weeks back that why aren't we feeding our dog raw
Right.
or our cats raw? And my simple answer was we are feeding raw meat to our dogs and cats, but we always make sure that the ones that we do not know, we cook. Or the ones that we are unsure of being contaminated, we cook the meat.
So the ones that come and we keep it in the freezer, will they be considered as raw meat where we are not cooking, and if they just come, they are frozen, we remove it, thaw it a little bit, and then we just feed it to the cats?
So it's essentially the same thing. It's whatever happens before it reaches the freezer.
Okay.
So if there is a E. coli or salmonella or any kind of issues, then it could transfer to, it could stay in the meat.
Okay. Okay.
And one more thing, now that you mentioned putting meat in the freezer, a lot of people, what they do is leave it in the freezer for a very long time or put it in the freezer at a very cold temperature. That results in freezer burn. That again reduces or removes a lot of nutrients. So that is also something that most raw feeders have to look into.
So how much time is apt time to keep in the freezer if you say that they keep it very long?
I would say no more than 24 hours at a very cold temperature.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And when you say that the meat should be cooked, is it boiling and steaming? And that is it. That is the max that you can cook it.
So basically, we have to introduce heat that kills the bacteria. So you can either bake it, you can boil it, or you can even roast it. Either way is fine. As long as you're introducing heat into the meat, that prevents any kind of bacteria buildup.
Okay. And the last part of this question was how, if you are starting on to a raw diet, what is the quantity that you should start off with, or can the entire diet be raw?
So if you're just starting out and you're changing your cat's meal, I would advise slowly, gradually moving to a raw diet. If you're feeding around 100 grams to your cat, you can do 25 grams to 100 grams in the first, first 2-3 days. After that, move to 50, 75, and then 100% of the whole thing. But if you want actual quantities, that is very dependent on the size of your cat, the activity level, and gender as well.
Oh, okay. So in fact, that was the next question. Is there any difference in the diet, maybe the quality, the quantity, or the type of meat, perhaps, between breeds? So Indies and Persians or any kind of other breeds, is there a difference in what you feed these different breeds, and also between genders, between male and female?
So there are differences in each breed of cats. If we take, for example, a Persian cat is more prone to obesity and UTIs. So there is a different kind of diet you would feed a Persian cat. And if you take to account a Bengal cat's more active. It requires more protein and fats in their diet for it to function and for it to not have any kind of deficiencies. Now, one more thing that a lot of people don't realize is that there is a lot of inbreeding that is going on. So they do develop specific health issues. For example, what do you call, a Persian is not able to completely groom itself as any other cat can. Even a mountain leopard, which has the longest amount of fur, is able to groom itself, but a Persian cat is not. So that is again another issue that comes up even nutritionally, because you have the throwing up of the hairball as well. So that becomes another aspect that when you're looking into your cat, it's not one size fit all for every cat as well, every breed as well.
So what are these differences? Is it in terms of what you feed or how much you feed?
It is both. So for a Persian cat, I would feed a low carb diet that would have higher amount of fiber and a good amount of protein, but to help them with their obesity or renal issues or any other kind of issues. For a Bengal cat, I would say it's a little easier because they just need a high protein, high fat diet. So it is very breed specific as well as specific to a certain cat. Now, when it comes to gender again, there are various differences in their diet in the same way. Because one, the well-known fact that female cats give birth and they have heat cycles. So that diet changes according to those aspects. And for males, there are body sizes, behavior, and the body shape as well. So it becomes, there's a difference between a male cat and a female cat and need to be treated, the diet needs to be treated as such.
So if the cats are neutered, then does it ultimately boil down to just the body weight, or will there still be differences otherwise, just because there are different genders in the case of sterilized cats?
Yeah, there still be differences because most breeds, if you look at a male cat, is usually is bigger and a little more muscular, while a female cat would be a little smaller or more cylindrical. And behaviorally also, male cats and female cats are very different. So their diet also needs to include those aspects as well.
Right. So asking a simple question where we know that brushing the teeth of a cat is not possible, clearly. What is it that we could do in terms of food or diet that could keep it clean and, remove the plaque that gets created?
Right. So the easiest way to remove plaque and tartar is to have your cat chew on something hard.
Okay.
That goes for humans as well, that goes for cats as well. Giving your cat just a mushy meal or a mushy diet can cause gingivitis or any kind of other issues with their teeth.
Okay.
So giving them something like what I give my cats and dogs are chicken bones, chicken feet. That ends up helping their entire cleaning their teeth, because that breaks down the tartar and also removes plaque. Now, it's important to understand what is the difference between tartar and plaque. A lot of people do confuse those two.
Right. Pallav, if you wish to share any photos, please feel free, let me know. We can share the screen.
Sure, yeah, I could. So, yeah, so the difference between tartar and plaque. Plaque is a layer, a mushy kind of layer that forms on your teeth, on a cat's teeth or anyone else's teeth. That cause the bad breath and gingivitis. Tartar is if plaque is left in the teeth for too long, that hardens into tartar and that forms like a hard layer on top of the teeth.
Okay. Right. So
one of the questions on the chat is in the case that you were mentioning earlier, what can one feed community cats? And how would one look after the nutrition? It's not just about feeding, but actually caring about whether their nutritional needs are being met. Indies and stray cats.
Indies, yeah. So what we usually do is when it comes to feeding cats that are in our neighborhood or cats that are strays, we tend to give them meat and organ meat, chicken meat and chicken organs. That usually helps fill most of the nutritional requirements. And organ meat has a lot of taurine, which is essential for a cat. So we give them a combination of around 45% of muscle meat and around 60% of organ meat.
Okay. The next one is, my cat is semi-Persian, but she's mostly constipated. Is it because it is because of her being semi-Persian? And what should I give her?
Wait, she's saying her cat is semi-Persian and is suffering from constipation, and she thinks it's because of her being semi-Persian.
Right.
Okay, so introducing soluble fibers.
I will just mute everybody. Please unmute yourself once again, because I think some participants are not being able to mute themselves. Pallav, you'll have to unmute yourself again.
Yeah.
Please.
So, introducing soluble fibers in your cat's diet will increase your cat's ability to what do you call poop or pee. Now, constipation can have many reasons. I cannot say for sure, but one thing that you can try now is to introduce a little more what do you call soluble fibers into your cat's diet. Things like organ meat, things like what do you call partridge, things that are easy soluble for your cat. That softens the poop as well. That also helps in relieving constipation. One more major thing is in water. Now, a lot of cats do not drink water, which ends up resulting in either UTIs or constipation or any other kind of issues. So, what I would advise, if you think it's a dehydration issue, then you can introduce either chicken broth or any kind of meat-based broths that your cat would like to drink. Or when you're feeding your cat, add more water, more moisture into your cat's diet. That way as well, you can increase their what do you call moisture level in their diet.
For starch, would you recommend steamed veggies of any kind?
I mean, we could. They do turn into fiber, but I wouldn't say it's essential. Cats can live on a diet of just meat, and which is basically their species-specific diet. You can, sorry, you can provide boiled vegetables, but there is not a lot of gain from providing them. It just results in non-soluble fibers.
Oh, okay. So in that case, suppose, I mean, mostly so because I am vegetarian, I tend to feed my cat commercial packaged cat food, Shiba mostly, which is so expensive.
Right.
I'm literally earning my salary for my cat. But what is your take on commercial cat food that is currently available in India? And what would you recommend are some good brands? And what are the ingredients that one must look out for or stay away from on the back of these packets?
So, commercial cat food can be healthy, but it is just looking at the better option. At home cooked meals or other kind of meals, it is difficult to include all the ingredients. It is difficult to include everything that your cat requires into the diet. For a home cooked meal, so it is more convenient. It is sometimes even better to introduce commercial food into your cat's diet. Some recommendations would be something that I also use sometimes is Origin cat food. There is Akana. Akana, I would recommend for cats that are very picky eaters. Akana really works for them. And then there's cat flavors for Taste of the Wild as well. That again is another option. Now, if you're talking about wet food, I would go for Little Big Paw. It's got a good amount of required proteins and a good amount of required fibers, fats. So, and I'm not getting paid to promote any of these brands. So, this is something I personally use as well. So, I would recommend going for these brands. These brands are world recognized and have healthier meals. Now, when you're talking about ingredients to avoid, I would say avoid anything that includes byproducts. Now, byproducts sometimes can be considered good because they are organ meat, and organ meat is required in your cat's diet. You cannot just feed muscle meat to your cat. But if they're mentioning just meal, it could be leftover parts of the chicken, including the feather, including the beak, including parts that are not very healthy for the cat. So avoid anything that says byproducts. Avoid any very high, carbohydrate foods. The easiest way to check is what comes first in the ingredients. Now, ingredients are usually lined up according to their weight. So the higher the weight in the ingredients, the higher the quantity in the meal. So avoid things that start with corn or wheat or any kind of other grains or any other kind of carbohydrates that come first, or at least in the first 4 ingredients.
Right. So I'll just repeat, you said anything that is byproducts, you said anything which is high on carbohydrates, and the ones which starts with corn, wheat, or any kind of grains. The first four elements are what you need to look out for because they are on the highest quantity inside the packaged food.
Correct, yes.
Okay, great. So the coming to that, while we do understand that sometimes commercial food is not what one would want to give, so coming to the home food part, how do I balance it? What is the way I can balance it? What are the additional, vitamins or maybe some other elements that I need to add additionally, even after adding maybe the meat?
So it is not just meat for them. It needs to be balanced, and it needs to be breed and age specific.
Okay.
For cats. And if your cat's more susceptible to obesity, if your cat's more susceptible to UTIs, things like that, I would say a lower protein diet rather than a very high protein diet. Sorry, for UTIs, and for overweight, I would say a higher percentage of protein for cats that could suffer from obesity. Next is always use organ meat. A lot of people do avoid using organ meat because they think it's a byproduct or it's a leftover, or they just don't like the look and feel of the organ. So a lot of cats do have that issue. Sorry, a lot of feeders do
Parents have that issue.
Yeah. So I do advise, please do add organ meat to your cat's diet. Next is adding different kinds of fats. Any kind of animal fat should be included in your cat's diet. That will not only improve their overall, mobility and everything, but it will also improve their fur and skin. A lot of cats that I have worked with have been suffering from different kind of skin issues, different kind of health issues, because they do not have enough fat in their diet. And a change in that as well can make a big difference. And I'm not even saying put a lot of it. I'm saying just introduce maybe half a teaspoon, and that will make a big difference. Now, when I say animal fats, I mean fish oils, chicken fats, other kind of tallows. Those always help their overall skin and fur. And also, finally, always make sure that your cat is getting enough taurine. Now, what is taurine? Taurine is an essential amino acid for cats, and it plays a crucial role in their physiological function, including vision, heart health, immunity, and even digestion. So always make sure that you have enough taurine in your cat's diet.
How does one add taurine? So if I'm cooking fish at home, Sampada, for example, her cat prefers eating only boiled mackerel over any other fish. Now, does that naturally contain taurine, or if it does not, what do I do, or where do I find taurine in order to add it as a supplement?
So you do get taurine supplements. Mackerel does have a good amount of taurine in it, but if you feel like you want to add a little more, or if you feel like your cat is a little deficient, you get supplements for taurine. You can introduce things like chicken liver or chicken heart. That again has a high amount of, not a high, but a good amount of taurine.
Adding on to this, actually, someone has asked, how can a carnivore diet be low protein diet?
So there are there are animal meats that are not very high in protein. Meats like pork. Pork is not a very high protein kind of meat. There is partridge, what we call teetar in Hindi. Those are not a very high protein meat. There is also I would say there are other meats as well that are low in protein. I'm not saying low as in like you're giving 2%
The
or
comparison you're
4%.
making between
Comparatively. Exactly, yes.
Okay.
They do need proteins. You cannot say that I'm not giving my cat any protein, because protein is essential for their diet. They can synthesize most amino acids, but not all amino acids. So they do require protein to synthesize amino acids as well.
Okay. Okay, so what is the balance of different elements, organ meat, bones, and regular other meat? Is there any ratio in which this has to be given? Also, ratios of different types of meat, like chicken, fish, the other types of meat that you said? Is there an ideal percentage?
So I usually don't recommend having like a generic percentage, that one size fit all kind of percentage for all cats. But ideally, if you're going according to prey model, where you're feeding according to how much they would eat in the wild, there would be elements of meat which would be which is muscle meat, that would be around 50 to 60%. Organ meat, skins, fats, bones, all of that put together would be a prey model diet. So around 50 to 60% of meat, 20% of organ meat, 5% fats, and some amount of skin and other parts of the animal. Because essentially your cat's eating the same you would ideally give your cat the same percentage of meat and organs and everything that they're getting from their prey.
Okay. Just before I ask the next question, Sudha Chakravarti, your video is on and it's very psychedelic to look at it. Could you please switch it off? I think you're going for a walk. I don't know if you can hear this. Okay. All right. So someone else asked, what type of birds are easily available in India that you would suggest to make homemade cat food for Indies?
So the easiest and the most cost-effective one would be chicken. If you're looking at other birds, there you can always get duck, turkeys, partridges, and there was one more type of bird that I saw recently. What was that called? I'm sorry. I once I remember it, I will tell you. But those are the easier found meats in India.
Right. So coming to the point of what is the difference between wet and dry food? And what should one go with, of course?
So the difference between wet and dry food would be that dry food, if you mean kibble, is extruded from an extruder and cut into pellets. They're introduced a very high amount of heat, and they are usually easier and more convenient. They have a longer shelf life, more and do have all the essential requirements the cat does require. Wet food would be something that is higher in moisture content. Kibble would be below my 5% of moisture, whereas this would be around 60 to 70% of moisture, wet food. And if you are going for either one, I would say a mix of both would be the best option for your cat.
And what is that ratio? How much percentage of wet versus dry?
Personally, I go for 30% kibble and 70% of wet food as the ratio to go for. But again, this is very dependent on the type of cat, type of health issues, and their entire overall behavior.
Okay. All right. Someone has asked that, okay, so this is for indoor-outdoor cats who also go out and hunt. Is it okay to give the cats processed or commercial food once they're back if they are already hunting outside?
It is okay, but always do balance it out. Now, I know it's difficult to understand how much the cat is eating outside and how much the cat will, how much to give the cat inside the house. So getting that kind of balance, honestly, is very difficult. But understanding your cat's requirements, it is easier for someone who's lived with a cat over a period of time to understand how much they require, and keeping like maintaining the understanding their weight. Maintaining that required weight is also important. So it is a process. It takes around 2-3 weeks to understand how much really to feed your cat, and constantly weighing your cat and checking their overall skin and everything. That gives you an idea of how much to feed your cat inside the house.
Pallav, there's a question which Anandita has written, is that what are your thoughts on kibble if wet, mushy food causes gingivitis? So I think you did not mean that the wet, mushy food always causes an issue, but it was more to do with giving something as a balance to clean the teeth as well. So could you put light on that?
Yeah, so I'm not saying that give kibble for your cats that are suffering from gingivitis. There are other options, like the example I gave of chicken feet. Adding that to the to your food, or adding something with a harder texture or a rougher texture in your cat's food will remove tartar and plaque. Does not have to be kibble. It can be anything else as well. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be kibble. It can be.
Dehydrated treats can also work, right?
Yes,
Dehydrated
hard treats can also work. And I'm not saying that mushy food always causes gingivitis. It is not that all
food.
mushy food will cause. It is very dependent on the circumstance and at what your cat's eating and their entire overall dental health.
Right.
So okay, we've not asked you this. How much, and this is everyone's problem, I will feed my cat and within minutes he will come and ask for food again. There is no limit to how much they want. But what is the ideal amount to feed, or how many times in a day? What does that schedule look like? 3 times, 4 times? How should it be?
So ideally, feed your cat 3 times a day. If that becomes an issue, you can balance it because a lot of people are working, a lot of people leave their cats at home and go for their job. So for them, they can do 2 times a day as well, where they feed once in the morning and once in the evening. Ideally, I would say 3 times a day. And how much to feed, again, dependent on the breed, on the type of cat, on the type of food. And the fact that your cat is meowing for food all the time, that's instinctively what they do. That is something that they want all the time. I mean, not only cats. I myself am someone like that who wants to snack after every meal. So I would say don't
Give in. Don't give
give in
in.
to the cuteness. Always do make sure that you're giving the right amount.
I loved Palak's comparison to ourselves.
Is there any ratio for every kg there is some X amount of grams that have to be fed?
Would not advise giving according to their weight or anything, because there is a difference between current weight and ideal weight for a cat. And I would say look at the back. If you're feeding packaged food, look at the back of the packaging. They've given the ideal food requirement to their ideal weight, and that's how much someone should feed their cat. I know there's an instinct of saying that, oh, that's not enough, my cat's still hungry. But it is just our love for the cat, and it's not like it's not that they're hungry all the time.
Yes, particularly if they've not lost weight just because you've been feeding less, it's an indication that they're okay. You're feeding right?
Exactly.
And they also have energy. They're running around, and they're happy. Okay, so one question is, what would you recommend between fish broth and chicken broth? Which one's better?
I would go for fish broth. Fish broth are higher in omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. That is very essential for your cat's well-being, both all in digestion, in their skin and fur, and in their digestion. Now, omega-3, omega-6 are essential for forming like an oily layer on your cat's skin. Now that prevents any kind of dandruff, that prevents any kind of rough skin, that prevents any of the elements getting into your cat, whether that be dust, whether that be sunlight or anything that can affect your cat's health. So having like an oily layer on your cat's this thing would be ideal.
Right. Also adding to that question, can we mix meats and give like fish with chicken together, or is it that only one meat should be there in their diet?
So personally, I advise giving cats a variety of meats.
No.
Now that reduces the risk of any kind of nutritional deficiency and also reduces the risk of any kind of sensitivity to form. If you're feeding one type of meat constantly to your cat or your dog or any kind of pet, they would increase sensitivity towards it. Right now, a lot of people are coming to me telling me that their cats are suffering from chicken allergies. They form rashes, they get gassy, they get bloated when they're having chicken. And that can cause a lot of health issues later on as well. So I would say keep changing the meat. That prevents that from happening.
So someone has asked, is NND good brand of kibble?
Yes, NND is a good brand of kibble. Always, whenever you're checking out a kibble, always check the back of the packaging. To check the ingredients. If you feel like there is a good percentage of animal meat and animal organ meat in their ingredients, you would ideally go for those. NND is a good brand to give your cats.
Okay. Someone has asked that when she's out alone, when the pet parent is out, the cat refuses to eat on his own, and because of that, she cannot go out. Is there any solution to this?
This is what do you call separational anxiety that a lot of cats do go through, especially cats that have been adopted during the lockdown. They've been spending all day, all night with their pet parents. They do not know anyone else. They have never been outside the house. So for them, their entire world is the pet parent. And then being left alone suddenly does cause a lot of anxiety. That does cause a lot of anger, a lot of behavioral issues in the future that could that could prevent the cat from eating the food. So if that is the case, then it's more of a behavioral thing where you leave the house for a while. You can go out for coffee or whatever, come back. So the cat knows that you're going to come back. It's not that you've left her alone and you're coming back to meet them and feed them and everything. So it's something that takes time. It is not a one-day thing. Over a few weeks, over a few months, the cat becomes more confident that you're going to come back.
Okay. All right. Also, whoever asked that question, Maddie, maybe you could consult something that is a recurring problem. Um, and this is something that has to be resolved because, usually, like, my cats don't care that I've left him alone. He will eat, and he will eat very happily. So that is, I feel, like a good place to be in. There's coexistence, and he's still happy. So maybe contact a behaviorist, Amanda Tong, who we've actually hosted a session with earlier in this month, would be a great person to chat with. She's there on the PopX community group, or you can find her on Instagram at Animal Behavior Academy. One question is, wait. Okay, what are some natural meat sources that fulfill typical vitamin and mineral needs for cats? For example, selenium, arginine, iodine, etc. And are these really that important for cats?
These are there are a few macro and micronutrients that are a requirement for cats. These are important, the ones you mentioned, but things like zinc, magnesium, phosphorus, calcium, these are also important vitamins and minerals that are required for the cat's daily health. Vitamin D is another example. Cats cannot synthesize vitamin D from the sun like we do. So they do require vitamin D in their diet as well.
Right. There's a question from Sakshi Jain. My male indie cat has gained a lot of weight after being neutered. He currently weighs 8 kg. He goes for walks daily, but nothing seems to help him lose weight. What could I do to keep him fit?
This is a common thing that happens after your cat is spayed, that they do put on weight quite quickly. So I'm not saying you should reduce the food. Never do that you're reducing the food, but optimizing the food for their overall health is important. Maybe introduce a higher protein diet. And also, if you feel like he's putting on weight too quickly, and he's putting on weight at a rate that is not normal, then I would say consult a vet. It could be thyroid, it could be anything else as well.
Okay. We have another question. How many times to feed kittens versus an adult cat?
That are less than a year of age.
Okay, less than a year of age, feed them 5 times a day. Their metabolism is quite high, and they're needed for their overall growth. cats require a lot of energy when they're growing, because they're forming, their bones are getting longer. There a lot of places the bones are fusing, and a lot your muscles are stretching. So your cats tend to look a little more skinnier once they're growing. So it's important to feed your cats 5 times a day so it gets the energy it requires. Because cat kittens again are very high energy. So so they require energy for their overall health and for their to fulfill with their daily requirement.
Pallav, when
So
you say 5 times, how much quantity are you talking about?
I would say the daily, whatever the daily consumption is written in the packaging would I would say divided by 5 and feed it accordingly. You can feed equally, or you can feed a heavier meal once a day and a lighter meal the other 4 times. But ideally, I would say feed them equally.
Okay. All right. So now, what is cat grass? And to me, like my cats love lemongrass, but I've
Mhm.
also seen them eat wheatgrass. So what exactly do people mean when they say cat grass? Can you grow it at home? And how many times is it okay for a cat to eat it, should it be part of their main diet, or is it something that's just sometimes?
So catgrass is something that adds fiber to your cat's diet. A lot of cats do instinctively go eat high fiber like have a high fiber requirement because maybe their stools are loose, or because they need a higher fiber for their entire digestion. It is instinctive to them, and they already know what they require. So let the cat choose how much they want to eat. I wouldn't say what do you call, limit their requirement. Let the cat eat instinctively how much they require. And it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. A lot of cats, my community cats as well, come to my house to eat the lemongrass in the garden. So lemongrass is again a good alternative if you can't find cat grass. And it is again high fiber, and ideally, I mean, you've seen a lot of cats that will not touch meat. So a cat eating grass seems a little far-fetched. But it is something that they could require. I wouldn't say it's something they require, but they could require. If you notice your cat when it goes outside is sniffing grass or chewing on leaves, get yourself cat grass. It is less toxic for them as well.
But what is cat grass? Is it wheat grass or is it catnip? What is the variety?
So it's not catnip. There are different varieties of catgrass that I've seen in the market. Sometimes it's wheatgrass. Sometimes it's a form of a smaller lemongrass. There are different kinds of catgrass available in the market. So it is something that again is based on the requirement. It's not catnip though. Yeah.
Okay. But guys, growing lemongrass or soaking some wheat grains in water and then planting them, and they grow in 7 days. Both these options are very easy to grow and very hardy. They don't require much care, and both of them are great for cats. I
Yeah.
have both of them at my home. Okay. Do we have any more questions?
No, I don't think so. There's just discussions happening. I think we've come to the conclusion. And is there any advice or any tip, Pallav, you would like to add on to ending it?
Yes, so a lot of people, something that it's not nutrition related, but something that I really believe in is mental enrichment for your cat as well. A lot of cat parents do not understand that, yes, they are low maintenance compared to other pets, but that doesn't mean no maintenance is required. So always make sure that when you're playing with your cat, when you're feeding your cat many different things, or letting your cat roam outside on a leash or whatever, or make sure that they're getting the required mental enrichment, because that at the end of the day does increase their overall life expectancy. Cats that do venture outside, cats that do get the mental enrichment, does improve their overall health and their life expectancy.
What would you
Right.
recommend as
This sounds like pretty.
resources for knowing more about cat nutrition? What is a reliable resource?
A reliable resource would be either a nutritionist or your vet,
Such as yourself.
such as me, or a vet. because I would not say use the internet. The internet is what do you call a great source for information, but is not always the right source because there's a lot of opinions that are there. Always consult a medical professional or a nutrition expert.
We do have two quick questions. Sorry for bothering again,
No
but
problem.
what are the natural meat sources? Pallav mentioned the vitamins and minerals that are important, but not what meat I can get those minerals and vitamins from. That is one. And two is raw fish okay? And should it be sardines or just dried fish?
Okay. Could you just repeat the first one?
The natural meat sources for vitamins and minerals that you've mentioned are important for cats.
Mm-hmm. Natural meat sources, what do you call the muscle meat? There's organ meat. Organ meat can include gizzards, can include heart, liver. A lot of cats now are eating things like what do you call ears, what do you call pig ears or buffalo ears. And there are many different types of meat that you can use. It is not that using one meat is better than using another. There are alternatives if your cat prefers one to the other, because at the end of the day, your cat has to eat the food. No matter how healthy the food is, the cat has to eat the food. So you do have to sometimes make a few adjustments to the food or the ingredients to make sure your cat's eating it as well. So it is a combination of the type of meat, the type of organs, and if you're introducing different kind of supplements, if your cat is deficient.
I think Pallav, what she meant is that, like you mentioned, taurine comes from heart, if I'm not mistaken. Things like this is what she's asking, that what
Okay.
wise which organ should be added into the food.
Mhm. So a lot of zinc and magnesium comes from liver. Heart again is a muscle meat, but is the tougher kind of muscle meat. That again gives you a good amount of zinc and phosphorus. And I mean, the list can go on. Maybe I can share a list of ingredients with their what do you call benefits, as well as the kind of what do you call nutrients they're getting out of it on the group. It'll be easier for
Yeah,
them
I
to
think that
understand.
would be nice. Yeah, sure. I think Pallav, if you can give that, I'll pass it on to the group of Pets of Paradise and the community.
Sure.
And I think she's also she adds cat bone marrow oatmeal. So is bone marrow okay to be given to the cats?
Yes, bone marrow is okay to be given to cats. It has a lot of health benefits. But again, at not a very high quantity, bone marrow is very high in fats. So I would advise calculating how much to give as well. And I think before this, you guys asked for fish as well. Like, can I feed raw fish to my cats?
Yeah, it was sardines or the other dried ones.
So, yes, you can feed raw fish to your cats, but raw fish bones can cause deficiencies in your cat, because these bones have a certain ingredients that bond with vitamins and minerals and prevent that being absorbed. So, avoid using any kind of fish bone or too much of fish bones.
Good. So, right, I think we'll wrap this up. There is still a lot of questions. And Pallav, if you are available on the group of Pets of Paradise, would be happy if they can bombard you there, or maybe email you and you could answer them whenever you are available. But thank you so much. Looking forward for the list that you could be giving. The YouTube channel is live. It is called PopX Community. The other sessions have been uploaded there. Today's session will be uploaded either by tonight or maybe by tomorrow. So you could go back and hear the whole thing. We will also be creating smaller content so that it's much more consumable. But thank you so much for being there in the session. People who haven't joined the PopX community, please go on our Instagram and check us out at PopX Community, POPX Community. You will get the sessions, join our WhatsApp groups, and we could have the debates over what food to be given currently. That is the hottest conversation since morning happening on our community. nonetheless, Binda, could you also put the link again for the fundraiser once more for people? It's there only till 30th. So please make sure you're helping the community cats. Yeah, since months. Madhulika, thanks for correcting. Since months, we've been having debate over food. And now we have Pallav and we also have Rachita on the group. So the nutritionists have been very good enough to keep answering. Pallav, do you take up personal sessions as well? So in case if some of them would like to come up to you, they could then personally do a consultation with you.
Yes, I do take up personal consultations, mostly for cats with different kind of health issues.
Right.
So if you feel like your cat is suffering from a health issue, or if your veterinary has diagnosed anything, you can let me know and I will be happy to help.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Vinda. Thank you, Pallav, for being there on this session. It was really informative. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you,
me.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.